beauties, today I have this beautiful spring makeup look. It's effortless to achieve, there's zero eyeshadow involved, so let's get on with today's look. I'm going to start by priming my skin with the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. We may be doing a lightweight makeup look, but we still want it to last, and if we're using light layers, we need a good primer to keep those light layers on the skin. This one's boosted with aloe vera, cherry blossom, hyaluronic acid and B vitamins. I found it works great on both dry and oily skin types. For foundation today, I'm mixing the Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 with the Armani Luminous Silk. I find these to be really similar. The Milani is super affordable and the Armani is a little bit more on the expensive side. The reason I've mixed them together is because I needed a shade to match my winter skin. The Armani was too light on its own and the Milani was too dark on its own. So by mixing them, I found a shade that worked pretty well, and they're not too dissimilar in their texture. Milani is a little bit fuller coverage than the Armani Luminous Silk, but together they worked really well for a nice lightweight foundation that gives coverage. You can blend this in with your fingers. You can use a beauty blender. I'm using a duo fibre brush because I feel like it just blends it so well onto the skin. Sometimes I like to finish off with a beauty blender after, but this brush and any duo fibre brush are some of my favourites for applying foundation. They don't absorb too much product, they don't apply too much product, and they just blend it in really nicely. It doesn't drag up any dry skin, and overall I just really love them. I've been raving about this concealer ever since I received it. This is the Trinny London BFF Serum Concealer. If you're somebody that has fine lines, wrinkles, dry skin around the eyes, this is a wonderful consistency for you. It gives beautiful coverage, as you can see. I love the coverage this gives. If you have really dark circles or pigmentation, you might want to apply a colour corrector first, then go in with this concealer. This product for me is still going strong. I am not changing my mind on my brow product. If you want to see an in-depth tutorial on how I do my brows, click the top right hand screen. The Urban Decay Brow Blade for me is the ultimate brow pen. It also has a pencil on the opposite side. I rarely reach for the pencil because the pen itself is fantastic. The nib is so tiny, it really enables you to mimic real hair. I loved the MAC one, but it is slightly thicker and you get thicker strokes. As I promised, there is no eyeshadow in this makeup look. I'm taking an eye pencil and I'm applying that along the root of my eyelashes, keeping the majority of that on the outer third of the mobile lid, close to the root of the eyelashes, and then blending that pencil out with a tiny blender brush. If you have hooded eyes, look down into a mirror and keep it very close to the root of your lashes. If your eye creases on the outer edge and you have a bit more of a fold to your lid, then you can skip this step. I don't, so I'm going to wing it out. Winging it out does create a lifted look. You can achieve this with hooded eyes, provided that the fold isn't super exaggerated, because obviously this will make it very difficult for you. If you want to see how I do eyeliner on hooded eyes, I will link the tutorial on screen for you now. That one is using liquid eyeliner on my friend Sarah. Here I'm gently working my way along the root of the eyelashes, getting thinner as we get towards the inner corner of the eye. Again, if your eyes are slightly hooded or you have quite oily lids, make sure you're using a water resistant pencil. One by Makeup Forever is really good. Today I'm going to use these eyelashes. However, you can use some generic fishtail lashes, which I will link in the description bar for you. These ones are quite expensive. I actually bought them for the wedding and never got around to using them. So to start with, I'm going to use a mix of the fishtail lashes in different sizes. I'm going to start with 12mm on the outer edge and then 14mm in the centre, going to 10mm and then down to 8mm as we get to the inner corner of the eye. And then I'm going to put some individual spikes in between those lashes, and these are 12mm. So starting on the outer edge, I'm taking the 12mm and I'm going to use 2 or 3 of these on the outer edge. This will give a lifted look. The reason I'm not using the 14mm on the outer edge is because it will make me look like Daisy the cow. When they're too long on the outer edge, it can make the eye look droopy, whereas if you go slightly shorter on the outer edge and longer towards the centre, it will make the lid space in the centre look larger and it won't droop the eye on the outer corner. I'm using the sizes that work with my eye shape, but if you need to go smaller, then you could do 10 and 11 and maybe even an 8mm on the very outer corner. So I've applied 12mm on the outer edge and now I'm going in with 14mm, maybe 3 or 4 across the centre. This will be the largest, longest area of those lashes. As you can see, I'm spacing them out slightly, but as they come up in a V shape, the V's cross ever so slightly. So you want them to have a little space in between at the root, but that they crisscross at the top. This will help to keep them sat in the right place because they crisscross and almost hold each other like a little cuddle of eyelashes. It also means that at the root you've got space to apply the spikes without the root looking too bulky. So next I'm going in with the 10mm eyelashes. These are going to drop slightly in their height compared to the ones next to them, but you want that because we're getting towards the inner corner, and as we get towards the inner corner it means the space between your lash line and where your eye naturally folds is getting tighter. We've got smaller space, so we don't want to overwhelm that with eyelashes that are too long. So we're applying about 2 of these on each eye. As you can see, we've now got a little bit of space just on the inner corner, which will be enough for 2 of the 8mm eyelashes. So apply a tiny amount of glue to the root of your false lash, look down and drop that in place. Try and get it as close to the root as possible, but it doesn't necessarily need to touch the skin. You can also use your tweezers to manipulate them into the space that you want them to sit. I'm now going in with the 12mm spikes, and these are going in the gaps between those fishtail V shapes, so we get a variation of texture. The V shapes where they cross over create a bit more of a fluffy effect, and these individual lashes are more spiky, so again that texture is slightly varied, which is really pretty. The spikes themselves are almost like a wet look. They're like a shiny black, which is nice because it gives a bit more of a mascara feel to it. When I look up, you can see that the spikes have got around the same kind of gap between each one, and I'm using the same size all the way across because the gap is quite big. It doesn't necessarily overwhelm the eye. However, you can most certainly use smaller spikes as you get towards the inner corner of the eye. You can go slightly smaller in size. Admittedly, this can be a little bit fiddly. It does take some practice, and because the spikes are going in between the V shape, sometimes they get a little bit tangled. So use your tweezers, don't be afraid to take them off again and replace them. Just take your time when doing this and keep looking down into a mirror and then straight up into a mirror so you can make sure that the lashes are all sitting around the same kind of space. Also, don't worry right now if there is a little bit of a gap between these eyelashes and your natural lashes. They should be sitting on the lash, but when you look up, sometimes they look as if you can see through them. Once you apply your mascara, this is going to seal them to each other and that gap will close. So trust the process and try not to get too frustrated if this is the first time that you're doing it. When I talk about that gap where you can see through the eyelashes, it's because your natural lashes aren't all sitting in one line. You have layers of lashes. So sometimes these eyelashes will sit all on the top and you can see through to your bottom natural lash. And therefore it almost creates a bit of a gap between them. So you can see here that they almost look like they're not sitting on my lash line, but they are. And now we're going to seal that in place and almost close that gap with some mascara. There are some mascaras that are slightly drier in their formulation, and I find these tend to work a little bit better when you're applying that mascara to false eyelashes because it doesn't make them clump together, it doesn't coat them in a ton of mascara, therefore it doesn't spoil the finish of them. All you're trying to do here is coat your natural lashes so they look darker, and it closes that gap between your natural lashes and the false ones, it seals them to it, and therefore they're not going anywhere. For the inner corner of the eye, you can use the tip of the mascara, again because it's a slightly drier formula, it's not going to overwhelm it or make it too wet. Now when I look up, if you compare the left eye to the right eye, you can see at the root, the left eye looks like the lashes are sitting at the root as opposed to being able to see through that gap. So that's why it's important to apply mascara. In case you're wondering, the one I'm using is the 2000 calorie full fat mascara by Max Factor. So again, if you look at that root, once I've finished applying mascara here, you can see the difference. The root is so dark and you can't see where the falsies start. I'm applying the same brown pencil along my waterline and I'm pulling it off the edge onto the root of the eyelashes, and then I'm going to smudge that with my finger. Therefore it looks less stark, it looks slightly softer, and then that helps to blend in when you apply mascara on your lower eyelashes. I've only taken that eyeliner halfway across because I don't want to close the eyes too much. I don't want it to be too dark for a daytime look. And then I'm going in with that same mascara on my lower eyelashes, and as you can see, it's really achieving that pretty flirty finish to the eyes because it's all about the spiky lashes but still soft. Now we're going back to the skin. I'm taking this bronzer by Charlotte Tilbury. I've not used this in so long. This is going in all the regular places, around the hairline, a little bit through the hollows of the cheeks but slightly higher, so it's bronzing, not so much contouring, just generally softly warming up that skin because we are in spring. We're still wearing our winter skin. We've not got any colour yet, so we don't want it to be too heavy. Everything needs to be really soft. Before I do blush, I'm going to do lips. This is by Anastasia Beverly Hills. The shade I'm using is called Hush Pink. It is described as a baby pink in a matte finish, but I feel like it's definitely got more of a corally undertone to it rather than baby pink, and I think you'll agree with me. It doesn't look like a baby pink shade. On my cheeks, I'm taking the Milani Baked Blush in the shade Luminous. This is an oldie but a goodie. Here's a little interesting fact. It does say online that each one of these has been sunbaked on Italian terracotta tiles to give your skin a warm finish and a radiance that looks striking and natural. It is such a pretty blush. It does give that beautiful radiance, and I love the peachy tone, and that's why I feel like this lipstick works well with it, because it's definitely got that slight peachy vibe rather than baby pink, but maybe it's just my lighting. Who knows? But either way, I hope you've enjoyed this really easy makeup look. The hardest part is the lashes, but they do give a beautiful finish, so I would encourage you to try it, and yes, you can use a longer lasting glue if you want them to last for the weekend. All the products I've used will be listed and linked in the description bar so you guys can shop directly from the video. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Please subscribe if you are new to my channel, and I will see you in a couple of days with another video. Bye guys!